Hello world, welcome to the July 23rd SIG Service Catalog meeting. If you are logged in and doing this live with us, follow along with our agenda here. I'm going to paste that into chat. If you would put your name on the attendees list, everyone should be able to edit and put your name in there. And that just lets people know that you're here and welcome. If there's something in particular you wanted to chat about today, everyone's welcome to edit that document and just tack on their thing that they'd like to talk about. We usually just put like your initials or name at the beginning and then what it is you're interested in talking about. I'll just be following through this agenda doc and making sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. If you're having trouble getting a word in edgewise, just type the word hand like this. And I'll apply with AC and let everyone know that it's someone else's turn to speak. I know sometimes it can be hard if you're new to the SIG. Alrighty, so the very first thing on our agenda is from Morgan.
Sorry, I had to fend someone off. No, we've put some of the prow automation in place, and it is not complete, but I wanted to get a feel for how everybody is feeling about the sort of new workflow in that I want to make sure that everybody is notified that we LGTM1, LGTM2 is intended to go away, and that the slash commands for prow are going to be the new way to do things, and then answer questions that people have about that, if there are any questions, and then basically, not vote on it now, but just say, what do you think about, saying next week we try to take it off. That's about it.
How has the approve in LGTM been working for everyone? Has anyone been having issues or something that you'd like us to look at before we try to just move over to LGTM and approve? Or everyone loves it? Yes, Doug?
So not to answer your question directly, but can somebody who understands the process just write up like a very short, like half-page list of commands that we're supposed to do now going forward? Because I think I understand the difference between /LGTM and /approve or any of the other things, but I don't know for sure if my thinking of it is actually correct. And so I'd like to hear from somebody on our team who actually thinks they know what's going on and just tell us the bare minimum we need to know just to get our job done.
Who thinks they understand LGTM and approve and reviewers and approvers from upstream main Kubernetes?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I have an idea.
Cool.
How about I write something up, I'll put it to the mailing list, and also next week I'll do a quick demo of what it looks like. I know we talked about it already, but I think it's clear that people aren't totally solid on what's going to cause things to go through.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Carolyn, unless a demo is easier for you to do, I don't actually want you to have to do that much work. I literally am just asking for what I said. It's just
well, then Morgan's doing it for you right now.
What?
Morgan's writing it for you in the agenda as you speak.
Well, that's nice that it's in the agenda. It would be nice if there was a wiki page that just said, "Here's what you need to do. Here are the commands we care about." There may be others, but these
there's
are
only the two. I don't understand the confusion.
Well, one thing I have a confusion of is, Morgan, you list approve has basically what you wrote after approve. It indicates that it should go after the LGTMs, doesn't it?
In general, yes, I know. I see people approve things without PRs having LGTM. In my opinion, that shouldn't happen. But
I can clarify
Because the Tide bot only merges when everything is ANDed together and true.
Yeah. So people who are members, and let me just talk about upstream Kubernetes for a second here. If you're a member of the organization, you are able and have permissions to use /LGTM to say that it's been reviewed. Another subset of people are like reviewers. And those people can use LGTM. It depends on how they have it configured, basically. I don't know how we've set it up. I think we only have approvers, actually, and our owners. And approvers
There are places where we have reviewers.
Sorry?
There exist owners files where we have reviewers defined, yes.
Okay, cool. So basically, approvers can do /approve, reviewers can do /LGTM. Approvers are also have reviewer rights, and you can see somebody if it's like in an area where there just aren't a lot of reviewers. You may see someone who's an approver also LGTM and approve at the same time, and that they're basically taking ownership for the whole thing and saying if this screws up, it's on them. I don't know if that helps at all. It doesn't, and basically what that means is you don't have to have two separate people do it, according to the way PROW works.
Two separate people do what?
You can have the same person do an LGTM and an approve if they have rights, and that'll cause it to be merged and go through.
So only one person is needed then to approve something?
If that one person is an approver,
Sounds a little
that's a PROW
scary.
will allow.
Oh, that sounds a little scary. So it sounds like
Don't we still need two LGTMs?
By convention, not by any automatic enforcement beyond are the labels there.
So if I'm looking at a PR and I'm reviewing it, and I mistakenly thought that someone else had already LGTM'd it, and I wanted to be the second LGTM, so I do a /LGTM, and think because I'm the second one, I also want to merge it, so I do a /approve. I just now screwed up.
Oh,
I
okay. I think there's a confusion here. Under the PROW system, there aren't two LGTMs. There's a single LGTM command, which applies the LGTM label. And then there's the approve command, which applies the approve label. And you just need both labels in order to merge. That's why I was saying you can get through with just a single person if they have the ability to apply both labels.
No, I understand that.
So you shouldn't be doing /LGTM if you think you're adding the second. Does that make sense? There is no two LGTMs under the PROW system.
Okay, that helps because I would have naturally just always done /LGTM, and then if I thought it was the second one, I probably would have done a /approve, thinking, now I want to merge it. I didn't realize that /approve implied an LGTM in essence under the covers. Or actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah. If you look at it as one looks good and one approve, maybe that helps map it a little bit more. It just helps get the labels on.
Okay.
So that's why the 1 and 2 goes away, because there aren't two LGTMs.
Well, I know 1 and 2 go away. I was hoping that PROW would actually do a count of different people and not allow the same person to basically let everything through because they mistakenly put LGTM and approve. But okay.
Nope.
That sounds a little scary, but okay.
Yeah. So if we want to have something where it has to be two distinct people, I think we'd either have to write a PROW plugin or just enforce that ourselves through convention and training people who have the ability to merge.
So if I make sure I have this right, so if I am the first one to review a PR and I do /approve, but I do not do a /LGTM, it will sit there and wait until somebody does an LGTM, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The plugin looks at the labels.
Yeah.
Okay. That scares the crap out of me, but okay.
What's the benefit of PROW?
Thank you, Jay.
What?
I mean, if PROW just gets us away from clicking the big green merge button, there must be more benefits to it than that.
It should be doing the merge test. It should be testing. It goes into the merge queue and it should be testing that it's mergeable before it actually does it.
That merge queue is very important because we've had a number of times where PRs are merged back to back, and then the test run of that PR is stale. And by the time it's actually merged and it hits master, those tests are failing after merging with the latest in master, and it never should have made it in. So we've had a number of times where we've had broken master builds and no one realized it, and there was no way to stop it before we merged that PR because there wasn't this merge queue where we force everything to be merged against master first before its tests are run. Does that make sense?
Sure does. Good answer. We got to write it down. I mean, that is the benefit that I was looking for. You know?
Yeah.
Great.
That is the main benefit. The other benefit is just a side effect. It wasn't the reason why we did it. But as we get people who are used to working with Prow and Kubernetes, when they come over to our side, they understand how to interact with us and do contributions as well. That wasn't the reason we did it. It's just a nice to have.
Does that cover it? Are we good?
We're basically saying we'll vote next week. So, right? If people really don't want it, they can vote against it next week.
Well, so what's the vote? I thought, are you saying that if we vote no, we can actually remove all the Prow stuff?
No, I'm saying if we vote no, we can just continue to keep the manual LGTM 1 and 2 labels.
In addition to the Prow stuff?
Correct.
Well, that seems silly. Okay.
If you have other ideas, they're welcome, but it's not helpful to just say, I don't like what we're changing to without another solution, because I'm not quite sure how to move forward from that. So
Well, no.
What we have today, or if it's really awkward, let's see how we can slim it down. Like maybe, like I said, write a Proud plugin that enforces that it was 2 separate people.
No. What I meant was silly was having LGTM 1 and 2 as well as Prow. It seems like they almost conflict in some way. So it seems
They
like
don't conflict, but they're terribly redundant. Yeah.
yeah. So okay.
It was just kind of like training wheels until we figured out how it worked.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to argue for or against Prow. I feel like that ship has sailed, so it doesn't do any good.
Okay. I like that it's a ship too. That's extra good. Cool.
Okie dokie. Well, I'll put it on the calendar for next week and try to experiment with Prow in the meantime, I guess. Super duper.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Moving on. I think there's an answer here. I just, it seems confusing to people who are interacting with this, this behavior. So in our controller code, we are, service broker API compatible. And as part of that, 2 required fields are the org and the space. The org now contains the cluster ID, and the space contains the namespace of something. Then we have the context profile object, which contains the more Kubernetes specific stuff. One of which is the namespace name, not the ID. And I don't see a way that we can sort of cause people to know about the context, but I'm trying to figure out a way to basically write down that, don't look at this, go somewhere else in the context of our stuff, but maybe that's just not doable.
Doug?
Yeah, no, I understand there may be some confusion there, but for anybody that cares about Kubernetes, they're basically writing a new broker at that point, or at least writing new code for the Kubernetes side of things. And at that point, we just need to tell them in our documentation or something to look in the context. It's as simple as that. We can't send a non-GUID in a GUID field. That just feels so wrong.
GUID field?
The org and space are both GUIDs.
But I mean, is it is it like, I get it, it's called GUID. Is it actually restricted to be formatted like a GUID?
Well, for org-guid, it says the platform GUID for the organization. No, I don't see.
That's not a restriction of the actual thing. GUIDs can be anything. So
I'm just saying what the spec says. Now,
I understand that, but text doesn't. That text does not mean anything to me.
Well, it says
you didn't define what kind of GUID it is. Like there's like 8 different standards. So I'm saying text is not specific enough. If it means something, there should be a regex, or there should be, a required character classes, something like that.
Well, a Z in a GUID is, I can almost guarantee you, is not valid, right? So
I don't know.
Well, I assume that GUIDs are alphanumeric, 0 through 9, A through F kind of stuff with dashes or whatever. But that's not. If you want to change the OSB spec, we can do that. That's fine. But it's called the GUID. The text says the org is a GUID. It's a GUID. It would be wrong for us to stick any random word in there.
I disagree.
That's fine.
Hey, Morgan, just for clarity, so those 2 individual fields, organization and space, GUIDs, are being deprecated, a part of the OSB spec. And
Yes.
OSB is saying you should start using these contexts. If we put that in our inline doc so that it shows up in the Go doc, would that help people find the right spot to kind of like avoid that issue we had open the other week?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because again, the guy was writing a broker, or he was adapting a broker, and you'd have to ask that guy who was basically, he pulled out the UID, and then you could see the code. He iterated through all of the stuff, which is not efficient. How does this?
Oh yeah, because he was writing a broker, not consuming our client. That was the difference.
Right. So it seems odd to me that we almost have to have, like, it seems like we shouldn't have to have information on if you're writing a broker for us, but I guess if you're writing a brochure for us, we should, excuse me, we should, I mean, do we link to the profile anywhere in our documentation already?
No, but that would probably be good.
One thing that Jeremy did last week is he added a new section to our documentation specifically for operators, and then he started filling in stuff about, I believe it was namespace, brokers, and service restrictions. What if we had a similar section that was for people writing brokers and just had like very direct information, like links to the spec, obviously, but then also just tips like, this is deprecated, this is what you're going to expect us to put in the context properties?
Right.
I can make a follow-up issue if you think that would kind of help cover what tripped him up last week.
Yeah, I guess I think maybe yeah. If for operators, that might be the. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's hard to say.
Let me make an issue, because I think no matter what, it's valuable. And then if we still think we've got a gap, we can keep hammering on this.
Yeah, basically we need to link to here.
Okay. I will add an issue for that.
Oh crap.
Was there anything else out of that, or?
No, just a let's see, username, UID. I'm actually not sure where do you know where he was getting his namespace in a future version? Maybe it's in. Let's see.
I could have swore he said he was reading the namespace out of the old deprecated property that's going to go away.
Yeah, it used to be in there. Kubernetes, yeah, namespace. Okay, so it's going to have names. I'm confused now.
We can hammer it out as part of the issue and just kind of
No,
make
I'm looking at like the master version of the spec, and then I go to V213 version of the spec, and it says namespace is in V211, and then over here it's not.
maybe our OSB spec
Right.
needs to be tweaked.
I don't know. I need to go look at it again. Okay, fine.
Okay, I'm gonna put something on for you to look at that too.
And yeah, I mean, the only restriction here is must be non-empty string. I guess we don't define what it is, and somebody would have to look at the code to know what it is, because it is just a UID. It is just, a string of like gobbledygook. So I think a thing to put in the issue there is going to be add an inline comment to the code, because that's the only way you can see it that I can tell.
When you say to the code, just make sure I've got the issue right. It's for
Like in the actual source code, in the Go code, where it's like, oh, create the context object to send.
but when I say the code, they're not using our client, right? Because they're writing their own broker.
I understand that, but the only way they would know what we're sending to the broker would be the guy saw our code. He saw ns.uid.
Oh,
So
I got you.
add a comment to the code that says, we are required to send this. Please look in the context profile instead. Something like that.
I understand now.
Okay. And I will try to stop banging on the desk.
Cool. I've got that in there as well. We ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah. I don't really want to do all of this stuff, but yes. Ready?
Dude, you put your name on it.
Yeah. I just wrote it down, I guess. Doug really drove most of it. Do you want to summarize your Arch part of this, Doug?
Yep, sorry. It took me a second to come off mute. So where are we? Yeah, okay. I guess last Thursday we had a SIG architecture call. And the purpose of the call was not to necessarily come up with a solution. In fact, it was not to come up with a solution. It was more just to describe some of the use cases that we're running into or scenarios that we're running into about how with the service broker, we cannot necessarily know whether particular operations are allowed to happen until we actually try to do the action against the service broker itself. And of course, delete is the biggest problem child in all of that. And so the purpose of the call was to make them aware of these scenarios and to ask them if there was interest in actually trying to make Kubernetes support these in a better way than what they currently do right now. And the result of the phone call was basically there was at least one other person who said that they have some use cases that seem to fall within the same category of use cases, and that it would probably be useful then to query the community to see if a working group wanted to get started up around this to see how best to address these use cases. Now, it's possible that the working group could come back and say, the way we want to support these is by using the stuff that's currently inside Kubernetes, or they can go the other end of the spectrum and say, no, we want to support these by changing Kubernetes in some way. You don't know where it's going to land if we do have a working group, but they at least said, yes, let's at least have the discussion about whether they want to form the working group. So they didn't make it sound like we were completely insane for even bringing up this topic. So that's forward progress, I guess. But I think that's kind of where we left it off, is I was going to send a note to the Kube dev mailing list, seeing who else is interested, and see if we can get some momentum going for a working group to get started. But in the meantime, assuming we want to do something within service catalog, in the meantime, we're going to have to come up with some short-term solution. Whether it aligns with a long-term solution, we obviously don't know. Does that summarize it well? Everybody else that was on the call?
I think so. I added just a clarification to make sure that we all understand that the scope of the working group is the long-term upstream fix inside of Kubernetes, because it may not just be service catalog that's affected, but service catalog, we won't wait for whatever comes out of this. We may come up with an interim solution potentially. Is
Yep.
that okay?
Yep. Agreed.
Sounds right to me. So moving on, last week on Thursday afternoon, I guess, whatever day July 19th is, we did this. There's a recording of it. I posted that. We went through the different. We basically went through the different options that we felt that would be a good short-term solution, and then we said, okay, everybody write up some of these, and I guess we have a separate document now. Some of them are down here, and some of them are in this document, and so I'm not sure if we want to, I don't want to, the goal is not to pick any of these. It's basically to go over them and make sure that they are, I guess, what we think they are, and sort of agree that these are options.
These weren't really necessarily short-term solutions, right? I mean, this is a way out of some of the problems we have. With these weren't specifically meant to be short-term, were they, Morgan?
I think some of them were.
I think they were all in, apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt, but these were all for things that we would be able to do right now without requiring changes to upstream Kubernetes.
Yeah, okay, right.
In order to get us unblocked, if we decide as a SIG to solve this problem in time for 1.0, these are various things we could do.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. That sits better, and I agreed. The short term was eating at me. Thank you. That's right.
Super duper. Yeah.
So the plan is that we'd like to be able to consider these as a group, and then have the entire SIG, anyone who's a maintainer, be able to vote on this ideally next week, and go through and think about what are these options and their impact both to our commitments we've made to V1, and what it would look like potentially, like maybe there's future breaking changes if we move to CRDs and their impact. If we do get, for example, upstream Kubernetes to make changes, would that cause our API to break a second time? Things like that. So that's what each one of these items was attempting to kind of capture, would just be like short-term impact, long-term impact based on things that we think may change going down the road, namely switching to CRDs away from aggregated API, and then whatever comes out of the working group and their recommendations, how do we consume that, and then hopefully not have another breaking API change. Is everyone okay with having a week to review these, hash it out, chat about them, and then vote by next Monday? Or we'll open up the vote, I guess, on the mailing list. I'm not quite sure how we're supposed to vote. Do you know, Doug?
I guess just on the phone call, the only thing I'd want to make sure is that give everybody the opportunity not just to read and think about the document, but to have a little bit of a back and forth brainstorming session to make sure they fully understand what's being said and proposed. Whether that is going to be done today or next week, I want to make sure that people have time to digest what was discussed in that back and forth. I think it'd be a mistake if we save all the discussions for next week's phone call and then we vote, because people may need a little more time to digest what has happened during this hour-long brainstorming session. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I think I skipped a part. So let me re-summarize again, because I was wrong. So we have a bunch of items basically that came out of our discussion last week. Morgan is scheduling, he used a doodle on the mailing list. He's scheduling another meeting so that we can dive deeper into any of these and get more information. So it would be in the next SIG meeting. I don't know, Morgan, did you come up with the next time to chat about this?
I was about to mention this and pull up the poll thing. Give me 10 seconds to try to find this guy.
Yeah, and then next Monday, one of the chairs or any one of the maintainers can can kick off a thread on the mailing list where people can vote. And then maybe we'll give them a certain number of days to vote so that people across time zones, or if someone happens to be out on Monday, they don't have to be physically at the call in order to be able to vote. But the timeline would be, let's see, like we would open up the vote next week and give people a week to vote and close the vote by like that Friday the 3rd. If no one yells, that's what I'm going to write on the agenda and do. Okay. Yes, lazy. Well, you can't do lazy consensus if we're trying to vote.
Yeah, I guess it's more like email consensus then.
Yeah, yeah. If you have an opinion, you definitely are going to need to reply to that email, and we're going to count up the votes by like a certain time. We'll pick a UTC time and say, by this UTC time, you must have submitted an email in reply to this and said which option you want to pick.
So one thing we may want to do is see if by the time we start the vote, we can reduce the number of choices. What are we up to, 8 choices now? Because I would hate it if we came back and like we had one vote for each, right? I mean, that would be awful. I don't necessarily know how to remove choices, but just something to think about before we actually start the vote.
Yeah, one of mine, number 3, is just an implementation detail for number 1. So maybe I could remove that and roll it into Morgan's number 1, ranked voting. Yeah, can we do instant runoff or whatever it's called?
Oh God.
Okay, but I'll take number 3 off and just roll it into 1 because it's essentially the same thing. It's just slightly different. Okay.
Don't renumber them though. Just like strike through it or whatever and.
Gotcha. I'll do that.
So we don't. Everything stays the same.
And it would be nice if people remove choices that they may have added if they don't actually support that choice. Let someone else re-add it if they do support it, because I'm trying to reduce the number down. So if there's options out there that no one really likes, I know I probably won't get a vote, but I think it's just going to be a distraction at that point for people. So I'd rather try to remove things from the list if no one is actually willing to champion that as their preferred choice.
I have taken 4 off as well because that's something I put out as an option, but I personally don't want to vote for it. So I'll take that one off as well. And 3 will get rolled into 1.
Okay. Thank you.
So just, can you see the presentation, the times?
Yep.
Looks like Thursday is the earliest we can do one with everybody involved. Thursday morning. Is that good enough for now? I mean, we can have a couple of these, I guess, if we really need to.
So is this a meeting to sort of brainstorm and go over the list?
Yes.
Okay. So Thursday, 8 a.m. Pacific? Okay.
Okay. No dissent. I'll schedule that one now, and send an email if you want to try to pull everybody in, I guess, on one of these other ones where people are available. And then Monday we'll discuss.
Yeah, Morgan, let's just go with what you turned up here. I think that's the right way to do it. We sent out a consensus, and I think we got the consensus, so let's just go forward with it.
I wonder if I can paste that in there if that'll send an email. So I guess I'll do this, and then that didn't work. We have, let's see, what time is it? We have half an hour basically. Do we want to actually go through the options and not necessarily talk about them, but do you want to review them real quick, or do you want to just everybody go read and come back later?
I think it helps if people read them before coming to the meeting, and then we
Okay.
just have a chance to dive deeper into people's concerns or confusions so that we're all on the same page.
Okay, everybody please go read this document and, you know, all of its links that it contains, because it contains a lot of links to other things. And then we will discuss it on Thursday morning. And that's it for now on that topic. And I guess other things to do. Is that time for that? We had a meeting here.
Yeah, I'm just summarizing what we're going to do. Sorry, I'm having trouble thinking and typing.
Yeah, no, that's difficult.
So, Karen, was that 7 or 8? I thought that was
Is it 8 a.m.
8
Pacific?
Eastern, yeah. 11 Eastern, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we should make it 7 a.m. just for the West Coast guys.
Sorry, I'm
talking
so
to
bad at
yourself.
So then that, I didn't make a list because I went and actually ate lunch during lunchtime here. Does anybody have a PR they would like to have reviewed? Let me see. None of them are waiting on me, as far as I can tell. I can go through each person if you want. So yes, let's try to use the tool in general and you know, assign or CC people that we think should be on there if we can, and you know, try to get the reviews done as necessary. I think didn't somebody post some this morning? Mm, 2116. 21, that's an oldie. And 2224. 2224. All right, no more work in progress. Excellent. Okay, yeah, right now I'm going to try to fix this today. This one is failing, but it is safe to ignore because it doesn't do anything yet.
Yay!
And eventually stuff will get merged that will obsolete that test run, but not yet. So this one needs a second reviewer and approve.
This one's a pretty critical one too. It lays out the pattern for how we're going to work with namespace scoped resources. I did it just for classes, but there's like 6 more issues basically they're going to follow on after this for plans, for brokers, for describe instead of just the get verb. So if we hammer out how we want it to look here, then we can pretty quickly rip through the other ones and make them consistent across the other commands and service in SVCAT. It's kind of big, but if you go through the commits, commit by commit, it's a little easier to review too.
Super. Why is there a .cache? What is that coming from?
Something about our new make file is loading that up.
I thought I put the caches into the existing package thing, but maybe I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, I can split that out of this PR if you want to merge.
No, that probably needs to be ignored. That probably needs to be ignored.
Okay.
So you're probably just the first person to notice it, and good job.
I didn't even realize that that snuck into this PR, to be honest, but
It happens.
yeah, it's a big directory, which is probably why I did that.
Jonathan, you're on here as the reviewer. Do you have time to review it?
I can take a look at it.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on. The other one was this, which has a whole buttload of people on it. And none of them have reviewed it. And reviewed commit by commit, refactor format interface. So does this have to do with how, oh no, this is just.
It has to do with adding a common implementation to all of our commands in SVCat which support -output, because otherwise, as I'm starting to add tests based off of Jonathan's new test pattern, all the tests are having to explicitly pick like table format, JSON format, and stuff like that, and it's not, the tests aren't working quite right. And so if we just switch over to this, we'll be able to take advantage of the fact that all the commands actually default to table, and being able to interact with them will just be more consistent and follow the patterns that we've already figured out for namespace commands and waitable commands, stuff like that.
Okay.
It's mostly refactor, but it just makes it easier to write tests too.
I like refactoring.
I'm glad someone does.
Okay, well, consider it raised in the meeting. And anything else? Because I did not have time to look over these.
Oh, I had one note about the charter. The steering committee was able to do a review of the charter, and they've been chatting with me and Doug to get tweaks and wording changes in. I got them to agree that we don't need to redo our charter to match their new template that they put out 2 weeks ago, which made me happy. So I think I've addressed everything that they wanted changed, and I'm going to ping them for a final look-see right after this meeting.
Excellent. I've got nothing else.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming to our meeting, and I hope you can make the 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time competition of these solutions. That should be fun to watch.
Yeah, at least it's not 7.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks everybody.
Right.
Bye-bye.